So to kick us off this year, I'm super pleased to introduce a relative local from Geneva. He's the founder, I think in 2007, is that right? Of Anthemis, which has recently been renamed Mantu, which he bootstrapped. I think you have over 5,000 employees now? 6,500, so that's a couple months out of date. 6,500 employees. No, bootstrapped. So, but if it was a venture-backed company, I'm sure it'd be a unicorn many times over. You know, the good fortune of meeting Olivier, we sat on a startup jury for a Swiss finance publication a few years ago. What struck me is, as I learned more about him and about his company, and he'll tell you all about this, although they do very different things, is that there's a commonality in worldview. One of the things that you said once in an interview you gave is about bridging between, you were talking about generations between sort of Generation X and the boomers maybe, and Generation Y and the millennials. And you know, we talk a lot about at Anthemis, the industrial age and the information age. And we created Anthemis to help bridge that gap within financial services. We speak the languages of both. You know, that really struck me. But you know, there's lots of stuff I want to ask you about and talk about. But I know every single company that we've ever invested in and been involved with, one of the key challenges they have is scaling up and you know, harnessing success. And again, I literally have never seen a company that's grown as fast as Mantu. So with no further ado, Olivier, thank you for coming.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much for the introduction. When Sean asked me to come, it was a bit striking for me because you are all guys and girls working in finance. And I never had any VC. I never had any private equity, and we remain independent. So I was asking to Sean, okay, what do you want me to do? And it appears that we are all entrepreneurs. And that's where we can connect, and that's what I can explain. It's about scaling and the scale-up story we have. First, and very brief, because I know we don't have that much time, just to explain who we are. We have a purpose, I'll let you read. We have a purpose, which is basically create and reveal a community of talents to give them an entrepreneurial spirit so that we can help our customers build their dream. This is what we strike for, and talents and human being is in the center of the company. What we do here is a wide range of service. We created a company in 2007 and it evolved to cover a full range of service. Our business is to help our customers on a 360 offer in the consulting industry. You might not know it, but today in the world, each time you're buying a service, a product, or anything, in fact, 35% of the innovation behind is done by service and consulting companies. And this is what we do. We are the people in the shadow, and it's a bit like Big Brother, but if you look at a regular day in your life, we'll be there nearly everywhere. In the morning, if you take your car, and it's an electric car, we might have worked on defining how the batteries can be lower to be more efficient. We might have worked on the LiDAR and the guiding system so that the car can park itself. We might have worked on the human interface, the man-machine interface on the GPS. Then, if you get out from your car, you might receive on your mobile phone a digital ad for a product you need to buy. We might have conceived that digital marketing campaign. Then you might listen on the radio on the CEO of a big company explaining his purpose and the reason why his company is working. We might have helped that leader defining the why of his company. And then you also might set up a team of people working in different countries, and there again, we might have helped you defining, setting up the team, and put that in place. In the evening, if you go back home, maybe you're going to watch a Formula 1 Grand Prix, and then you will have one chance out of two that the Formula One team winning have the engineering of the car and the aerodynamic of the car done by people working for us. So as you can see, it's pretty wide. What we have done is something that we do believe is now making sense, which is having a generalist approach with different specialities. Because the world today is so connected that all those sectors, all those problems need to be connected together. At a time where most of our competitors in the consulting industry were specialized animals doing only one stuff. And that was good during a long time, but now our customers want to have a 360 offer. So that's just to explain you who we are and what we did. Very briefly about the history of the company, because that's about the entrepreneurial journey. And I try to give you, because I've understood that most of you are between 0 and 300, 500 people as entrepreneurs. I'm going to try to give you the entrepreneurial story we lived after that one, the takeaway and the fail that we did. I started the company after having worked for 2 companies before. The first one I was 21 in Belgium, and it was a consulting company named Altran, and I created for them a business which was a 150 people business in 3 years, and that was pretty nice. I was employee. And at that time, that company was earning a lot of money. And that company was in the stock market, and we were doing things differently. And they asked me to stop it and to work the way they worked. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to create my company. At that time, I was young, I was 25, and I thought that it was not funny to create a company to have 200 people. I wanted to make something big. So I joined and I made a deal with a competitor to create a company together. And I thought they're going to bring me help and tools to go faster. It appears it never happened. So in the end, we created a company. I grew the company from 0 to 300 people for them. And then I was in charge of international. And that's where I learned what international means. And we grew from 0 to 6,000 employees, something like that. So that was pretty nice. And both of those companies are the reason why I started my company. The first thing is a human project. In that company, they were tolerating stuff which were not aligned with my values. And that's the reason why I had to left. And the first company, that was the stock market, the industrial project. We were forced to take stupid decisions for the short term because of the quarter of the stock market. So one day, in 2007, I said, okay, stop. Let's create a company, let's do a worldwide group, let's make it international, and that's going to be our story. This is the story of the group. I don't know if you can read it, but I will explain it just to give you an idea about what happened. So the first phase was starting the company. We started in Geneva, as you were saying. Then we expand. We opened France, Spain, and then we had really fast 10 countries. And we scale and we scale. And then we discovered that we are pretty good at making business and execution, so we diversify our activity. And that's what happened in the different years. Up to today, 6,500 employees, more or less, and for roughly 500 million turnover at the end of the year. What for me was one of the most important stuff, and now we're going to talk about takeaway, is the first thing, and it's not in my slide, but I will add it because we were talking about that. The first thing that you have to do as an entrepreneur to scale is to find the right husband or the right wife, because they are the one making the difference in the end. And for all of you who are there, who are the husband or the wife, you are the reason why your husband or your wife company can make a difference, because this is one of those most important. Then you will have anticipation. When we started the company, day one, we sold the company with one unique IT system, one unique reporting system. We were doing analytics, analytical accounting on 5 axes, same way everywhere in the world. We were doing cash pooling since day one when we started. We decided, when we started the day one, I think I spent 15 days deploying the website. It was in 10 languages, including Chinese, because we knew that's where we want to go. And I knew also that when we would start, well, we won't have time to change it, and it will last for a long time. So it was a bit of, being a schizophrenic which means working on the day-to-day, which you're all fighting for, finding the business, finding the customers, but at the same time, finding it on a very long way and say, will that be sustainable if I have 10,000 employees? I have one story which is always very interesting, and it's a very basic. I'm a pragmatic guy. One day, in 2011, the CFO came and told me, this accountant is not good, we have to fire her. I went to her and talked to her and said, okay, explain me why you are spending so much time. And she told me, well, because you're doing, took you 45 minutes, it takes you 45 minutes to have one invoice, which is ridiculous. And she told me, yeah, so what is taking you time? She told me the biggest problem I do have is taking a sticker and writing in the end the address of the customer to put it on the envelope. And I was thinking, how the hell is it possible? Why you don't print the envelope, with the right window on the envelope, with the invoice with the right window? And she told me, when we started, we only had 2 invoices per day. So it would take me more time to change the software to print the address at the right place on the envelope. And she didn't realize that, yes, but when you scale and you have 1,000 invoices to do, then you will need to have 1 person full-time to do it. This is what I mean when I speak about anticipation. Because we are all stuck and facing the day-to-day problem, but at the same time, you need to work on the longer one. And this is the kind of takeaway here. One of the big fails we had is when we were anticipating is to have our own filters. When we started the group, we were very strong, and that was 12 years ago, on social network. LinkedIn, Twitter, Line, WeChat. We were very active. And because of that, we have been very bad on digital marketing because we thought we knew what digital mean. But programmatic and digital marketing is not the same as social network. It's the same for IT. When we started, day one, we put all our system, we developed all our system internally, all the IT. And because we are good in IT, we have been bad doing the turn of artificial intelligence because we are already all data-driven, using our tool, making requests. But doing reporting and analytics is not the same as doing data science, machine learning, deep learning. So one of the fails is that when you are good at something, you have to just realize that it's where the problem is going to come because you're going to think that it's the same that the next generation will do. Scalability. You all know what it is about. For us, there is 2 parts with scalability. The first one is IT, for sure. Everything we did was cloud-based, data-driven since day one, working remotely, everywhere, all digital, no paper, easy. What is more is the human scalability. What we did is we have put all the corporate function, all the back office function in hubs. So they are located in different locations in the world, and it's like software as a service. We can scale. When I open a company, for instance, in Chile, I only have local business and operation there. Marketing, finance, recruitment, HR, payrolling, etc. Everything is done remotely from another place. And it means you can scale because you don't need 1 person to do the full stuff. You can own 1 person who will do a part of finance for Chile, a part of finance for Peru, and a part of finance for USA. You don't need to have that, only 1 person. So it avoids the step of growth, which we know one of the biggest problems. So everything has been designed like that. Even our assistant, the executive assistant we have in the group, are located in different hubs in the world, and they can share, because you can train them, you can coach them, they can share knowledge. Company culture. There is one saying, I don't know, it's everybody, everything is played at the play school age. It all started in the beginning. The culture you're going to give to your company is going to last and a long time. And even when you have 6,000 employees, it's always the culture coming from the beginning. So you have to take a bit of time there. When we started, day one, every time we were doing something, we were writing down here. For instance, when we were looking for an office, we We're writing down, okay, what do I check? How do I do? And we are creating our university, an internal university that we have today with e-learning module, etc., where everybody can enhance and put there to capitalize the energy. It's the same when we started acquisition. We have, each time it's, okay, write down what you're doing so that we can teach someone else to do it. We had, since day one, we had a TV to connect all the people like in the different offices to stream information, intranet, etc., etc. The fail and the thing that we miss was to put a social network platform there. If you don't have one, do it, because the day you scale, when you're in a single location, it's piece of cake to have a company culture. When you're scaling, we are today in 55 countries in the world. If you don't have a social platform so that people can connect, it's a huge problem. And we missed that. Now we have it, of course, but we should have put that 4 years before. Uberize yourself. Destroy your own business. So even for those who are already destroying the others, you also have to think how you're going to destroy. For us, 4 years ago, it means we started a company internally, software as a platform, software as a service, and that company is destroying my business. It's a software as a platform service, which is disrupting the model of consulting. And it's pretty interesting to do it from inside, because you see all the barriers you have when you do that. And my advice is to put a dedicated team to do it. If you try to do it inside with the rest of the team, they will always think, yes, but I'm destroying my business. That company today is 20% of my turnover, and it's probably going to do 1 billion turnover in the next 4 years, 5 years. And it's going to be bigger than the rest of my business. Since day one, we share the value, which means we share capital. Today, I have 35% of the capital of the group, which is held by the employee of the group. So it's pretty heavy, and we share the value over there. Sharing is also sharing time, experience, coaching. Most of the people in the group have only one goal, which is their job is to train the person who is going to be the one taking their seat. If we manage to do that, the company will always grow, because most of the time it stops where the people in charge of something are protecting their seat instead of finding people taking their own position. If you see that in your company, fire the one doing that. They're going to destroy your company. There is one fail over there. I remember when we started the stock option program, that was 6 years ago, 7 years ago. We had one people, like here. At the same time, I offered an iPad to all the people who were there. Stock option and iPad. Guess what? They all come at the end of the meeting and they told me, oh, thank you very much for the iPad. Fuck. I was giving 1% of my shares of the capital of the group, and they were saying, thank you for the iPad. And I gave it too soon, because at that time, they didn't realize what it meant. So I gave something for me which was a value, a huge value, and I knew what it was going to represent. And for the people, actually, they don't realize it. So there, my advice is just to give to people things that they can value, else you're going to waste your money. I have another example, which is really striking. The value of the group, we are doing 40% growth per year. So you can imagine our value is raising 40% per year at least. We are thinking about distributing shares to 45 people of my employee worldwide. Not a lot of amount, of course, but one of two could buy some shares. And then my CEO, I told him, okay, I have another idea, which is to allow them to put money in the company, and they could get an interest from it. And I could offer 8% to 14%, depending on the growth of the group. And he told me, wow, that's great. Can I have it? I was saying, fuck, you're having shares doing 40% of you per year, and you prefer that. And in the end, it's true. In the end, we just realized that it was costing less, but it was more valued by the people than the mechanism we were supposed to give. So be very careful when you're offering, sharing the value, to share something where the value perception and what you give is the same, else you're going to be very disappointed. The takeaway here is that you, as a CEO, for those who are entrepreneurs and the founders, you have to be the human resource director of your company. Your job, for me, is to find the right people and put at the right place. If you do that, the rest is piece of cake. it will always work. And each time we have had a problem in a company, in a business, the day we change the managing director, the leader, the day we did it, it solved all the problems we are fighting for 1 year, 2 years, etc. It means you have to accept losing control and giving responsibility, which is one of the biggest problems of the founders I've always seen, if they want to be in charge and control everything. But you have to give control, and especially to the people who are young, and especially when you guys are growing older, because you don't remember what you were capable of doing when you were 22. And you think that people with only 10 years of experience, they don't have experience, which is not true. The fail here, and one of the biggest threats you will all have in the scaling up has not happened now for those who have only 300, 400, 500 people. It happened for me just after. It's the Peter principle. You know that in a company, everybody tends to raise in an organization at a stage where he's not anymore the one making the job. And your job is to put the person at the right place and say, okay, you're great there, you're not good anymore in that position because the company has changed and grown and you cannot do it. It doesn't mean you need to fire them, but you need to have the guts to tell him, okay, you cannot stay there, you need to move. I failed that 2 times, 3 times at least, and it cost me a lot. There is one which I did like that. It probably cost me, I would say, 200 million of growth because I didn't make the right move at that time. So if you see people not anymore at the right place, take the decision and very fast, either to move him or her at the right stage or to fire the person. By the way, it applies to you and to me. Is also how do you find a way to put an organization that will be able to tell you when you are at your own Peter principle and you need to change and not do that anymore. And then to end, and I will finish, and I was long, is about thinking very far. We are experiencing a world which is absolutely crazy now. By the end of 2025, 75% of the world active population will be between 18 years old and 30 years old. That generation is changing the world and is going to change the full world. They are going to change all the usage, all the habits of every company. Their purpose, their expectation is different, and you know it because you are the one breaking the codes also. By 2030, 85%, everybody will have changed job at least 7 times. So it means we have absolutely, all of us, no idea about what the world is going to be. The society will change. We will enter a society where artificial intelligence, automatization, robots will change the way we work because work will not be anymore the most part of our life. Leisure will be. We will spend a lot of time having leisure. And that is going to change the full society. All those changes, there is nothing we can do, and it's very hard for us to know what it is. The only advice that I can tell you is fight to have the best people on board, because if you have the best people on board, if you give them an environment where they are happy and motivated, you don't know what the world is going to be, but they will adapt and have your company adapt to the change and to the growth. Thank you very much. And then...
Thanks, Olivier. I want to talk about talent. You touched on it, and I think I'm safe in saying that everyone in this room understands, even the earliest founders, immediately understands that talent is the key to success, and finding, retaining, promoting talent is challenging. And I think, again, I'm safe to say that all the people in our ecosystem in this room are doing it at a scale that's an order of magnitude smaller than you've done it. What's the secret to? So it's easy to. I think it's relatively easy to understand that finding very talented people, giving them autonomy, is important. But how do you find 6,000 talented people in 5 years?
The first thing is volume. We are handling 80,000 CV per week. to recruit 50 to 80 people per week.
Yeah, we do that too.
So it's a, it's a very, very low ratio. So it means if you want to have the best people, it's having a lot to screen.
Yeah.
My first advice is also don't wait for the people to apply in your company, because unless you're very good, they won't come to you because of your name or whatever. So you need to find the right one, not the one applying, because the one applying are not always. So it's putting an energy. Recruitment is a business. It should not be, it's not an HR problem. It's a recruitment military process. It's how to source CVs, how to see candidates as something you will fight for, like a customer. Ask yourself the question, it's a very good question actually. When you have 2 meetings in a day, one with a candidate and one with a customer, which one, if you have only one to do, which one is going to be the one you're going to kick out? Most of the time, you're going to kick out the candidate and keep the customers.
Yeah.
That's your focus.
Yeah. I read, or I think I either read or heard you say that you've built your own internal candidate tracking tool or applicant
tracking system.
When did you start doing that? So now, to be fair, you were 4,000, 5,000, now 6,000. That sort of makes sense that you have that and you're doing it at scale, but day one you started.
We started day one.
Yeah.
Day one, the mojo was killing Excel. So it means most of the people, when they start, do an Excel sheet with the candidates. Yeah. And they say, okay, no, that cannot scale. So how do we put a small tool, a small application for that? So, and then you enhance, you put the different module features on it, because we never find a solution which were matching our needs.
Yeah.
Today, I would say I would do it again, because it's my core business. For most of the people now, you have enough tools which can be on the market, providing a way to track and manage applicants.
Got it. Yeah, and in that context too, my numbers are probably out of date too. They're only like a month old. You said I think you said once there was 400 or 500 people within the group that sort of work on building the tools and platforms for the group.
Yeah. Well, actually, what we add also is, maybe you're not gonna like it, but starting alone, backed with no VC, we learned something that money has a value.
Yeah.
And scarcity of resources has a value. And when you have money, you need to have different ideas. And that's where the first day we opened offices in Vietnam and there to put IT developers, because it was okay, we could afford it.
Yeah.
I didn't have the means to put someone in France or in Switzerland and pay the person to develop.
Yeah.
And then we did that so from day one. Today it's probably 400 people developing our own application, plus the data scientists, artificial intelligence, probably 100 people also. But the logic behind was, okay, we look at the market, is there software fitting our needs? And most of the time, the answer is no. Yeah. So either we take the software and we redevelop to have the features, and then we kick the software, or we do it again.
And this comes back to what you were talking about, building Mantu as a platform for all your operating businesses. Actually, just as an aside, so you changed names, it was just recently, right?
Yes.
3 or 4 months ago. Why was that?
It's the outcome of a long process we started 8 years ago. So 8 years ago, I knew already that we would need to change name, because when you are advising the CEO of, I don't know, a huge bank in Europe on his leadership, on the purpose, it's not exactly the same positioning as helping one company to develop an intranet in Java. Yeah. So the idea was to have a global name to allow different business and to cover different business. It's also necessary if you want to launch a business which is going to destroy another one.
Okay.
Because it can be part of the group, not part of the company name was Amaris before. Yeah. You cannot disrupt yourself saying you're a subsidiary of Amaris, which is actually there.
Got it.
And we could not do it before because to have a proposal of value proposal, you need to be big enough. So when we did it, we were like 5,000 people, 55 countries. We made a difference. We can talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's interesting because that's maybe doesn't come up as often, but there are times when you're starting a company, especially these days, where namespaces are so crowded, and you need a URL, you need a social media handles, that oftentimes you start with a name that you know is not ideal. And then, it's interesting, sometimes the debate said, well, but we've actually got brand equity, and so even if it's not a great name, starting again, I think, what you've just done sort of proves that you can do that if it's the right time. And
correct. Nevertheless, we have still our initial brand, which is Amaris Consulting, but just focusing on consulting. So we are not destroying it. And because the problem is the employer brand. We are very well known on recruitment. We have, on recruitment, we have 325 partnerships with university. We are sponsoring university, junior enterprise. So getting the people at the roots. Just to have an idea, if you take someone, a good data scientist, or a good guy having done an EPFL or Polytechnic, when he put a CV on a job board, like Monster or the other one, do you know in how much time he got 5 phone calls? That's less than 5 minutes.
Wow.
In less than 1 hour, that would be 40 calls. After 1 hour, you get the CV out. It's too harassed. So if you don't get the CV at the source, you'll never have it. And you won't find it on LinkedIn so easily, even if you scrap it. And
who do you compete with people like that, talented people that have multiple offers? Who's your main competition? I imagine it's not the consulting companies anymore.
It really depends on the kind of business, actually. It can be competing with the strategy firm like McKinsey, Deloitte, BCG, etc. It can be competing with the Big Four. It can be competing with software house or IT producing house. It's really different.
And if people especially young, have they heard of you? Like when they see
the young one, yes, because of the school and university we do. The biggest competitor, of course, is a startup who have raised money because they are spending money like that.
No, they're not. You guys aren't doing that.
I mean, honestly, don't do that because it's something that will work on a very short period of time because you will fill your position easily. But then, how do you handle a system where everybody is overpaid? It's not a sustainable model to grow.
When you talked about scarcity being, and I believe this, I guess there's relative levels of scarcity, but scarcity is the mother of invention. And even when we talk about both internally, when we're considering investing, and then with founders as or after we've invested, it's always fine-tuning the amount of capital with the plan to have enough to do what they need to do, but no more. But also without being imprudent in terms of not running up into a liquidity crunch.
For this lunch today, I was with one guy having, I would say, 20 billion turnover company. And he told me something very interesting. He told me that he has one business, 500 million, something like that, where at the end of the month, this month, the working capital has increased of 20 million. And he told me that when the CFO asked and said, okay, can I have a bit of money to pay? He told him, no way. Change the working capital. And the guy said, not possible. He said, okay, no problem. No money for the salary at the end of the month. And he told me 1 week after, he got back the 20 million from the customer. That was done. And I find it very interesting that someone that has 20 billion was able to do that. It means that being demanding is still working, even if you can afford.
Something you said once struck me that I think the question was, what do you look for in terms of talented people, future leaders? And you said you look for people that ask the question, how can we get it done? Not explain to you how it can't be done. Is that something, that it makes sense? It kind of seems like it's something that's easier to say than to act on. How do you, what are your tells to find those people that?
The first thing is that I do take people on board. The average age of my company is 28.1 years old.
Okay.
So it means we are taking young people. And that's one of the reasons, because most of the young people, they are not going to explain you why it's not possible because they don't have any reference. In the group, we have a number which is 40%. This is the growth we are doing every year. For all of our people, they find it normal. when we take people from the outside, most of the time they say, it's not normal, 10% is quite okay.
Yeah.
It's just a mindset. So it doesn't mean that when we are getting old, and we are now, both of us, that we don't keep that mindset. But it's a frame of mind to say, okay, I don't fear being challenged by young people. Yeah. I don't fear that. So I would say it's a global mindset and not letting it happen once.
Do you remember the movie Logan's Run?
Logan's Run?
From like 1973 or 75?
I wasn't born. You were.
There's a dystopian future where I think at the age of, if anyone remembers, age of 30 or 35, there was a post-apocalyptic world where there's no resources. So they created this whole quasi-religious ceremony that 35 you were basically liquidated. I think maybe literally liquidated. You guys don't do that.
No, we don't. No, because since we are getting old, we need also to find a way to stay in the company.
Exactly.
So, no, we don't do that. But honestly, one of the biggest challenge, and actually you will all face, is when you grow, is to integrate people from the outside that can challenge also or bring maturity without destroying the values. And it's really not easy to integrate people.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, because again, we Anthemis, and I think a number of our portfolio companies, certainly ones I'm most directly, struggle with this. You talked about culture being, totally agree that it's sort of it's almost impossible to change from the beginning. It maybe is impossible to change.
It is impossible.
And even at again, orders of magnitude smaller numbers, when you go from 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 to 500, it's enormously challenging to. How do you do that at the scale, in the speed of scaling? Do you feel comfortable saying that now at 6,500 people that, not identical, but the culture resembles very closely what you started with your?
I think the DNA is there. The principles are observable, and we will fight for those kind of principles, even if it costs money from time to time, so that the values are respected.
Yeah.
Then it's also a question, it's exactly what you are doing actually. We are spreading the world, but from time to time, there is nothing better than putting the people together so that they can exchange, cross, and share the culture. We have also a lot of mobility. We are moving people in the different countries, because that's also where you share the DNA. For the people coming from the outside, it means taking a lot of time to explain who you are and what you do. Even for the people who are very experienced, I would say it's more than that. The more the people are experienced, the more you need to consider you have to take time with them to explain them who you are.
Just want to go back to origin story you talked about a bit. The first question, sometimes the only question when I'm time-bound to ask an entrepreneur who I'm meeting for the first time or looking at their company first time is, tell me how you got here. Because it encapsulates, and then if I have time, we ask lots of other questions, but that I've found over the last 15, 20 years captures sort of the essence of not only the company, but the person or people that are leading that company. You touched on a little bit in your talk, but what motivated what motivated you, and does it look like today, 10, 12 years later, what you thought it was going to look like when you started it?
Oh no, we didn't expect to go that fast, but to go there was in the plan, yeah. I do believe that when you imagine the future, even if it's crazy, there is huge chances you will make it happen.
Yeah.
The why is, basically I was not supposed to be an entrepreneur. That's not who I am.
You're a consultant. IT consultant.
I'm an IT guy, and then I done an MBA.
Yeah.
I like to do projects. I like to create stuff. I like to do funny stuff and say, okay, hey, this is a business, it could be funny. But I was not meant to be an entrepreneur. I became an entrepreneur because my boss were not good enough to keep me where I was. If they would have been clever, I would never have left. I was having fun, creating business, companies, with money that was not mine, so it was less risky. Yeah. I was very well paid. That was good. But they didn't leave me the entrepreneur spirit. They tried to put me somewhere, and the values were not okay. The reason why I left is one day, I had a girl who came to me in the training program. She was probably 25, and she told me, I have a sexual harassment from my boss. And I came to my CEO and I tell him, okay, we need to fire that guy. The day after, we were together, and he told me, Olivier, can you apologize? I said, okay, no way. You have to fire him. He told me, yeah, but he's bringing fucking lot of money. I said, okay, there we go. It's over.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, we're going to create a company that's going to be with people that I do like, with people that are going to write an adventure. It's going to be international, and we're going to do what they won't let me do. And I don't want anymore to hear about the stock market or this kind of stupid stuff where you kill the purpose of a company.
Yeah, I always say thank God for that everyone isn't really clever or motivated, because it'd be really hard to do stuff if they were. And that was a little bit my epiphany when I was working in big banks, was I used to get very frustrated and say, and actually I knew too, and I worked in capital markets, so there were a lot of very, book smart or even very smart people, but like, why don't they get it? And then the epiphany was, well, they don't, and now I have some theories why they don't, but good, because that creates this giant opportunity space to go into. And if they got everything and were on top of it, it would be really hard to succeed. Another thing you talk about, and again, we've tried to, in a very different way, because we're an investment firm, and we invest and we have built this ecosystem community of companies, but it's a capital link, and we hope it's more than just that, but it's sort of from a legal capital point of view, it's more dispersed than Mantu, but it's the same philosophy of autonomy, and we want our goal is to reinvent finance, and we knew from day one that we couldn't do that as a monolith.
That was your purpose.
That was our purpose, and we couldn't do that as a monolith. That it was so vast, and there were so many things to do, and we chose a different path. But
it's the same. It's a community of small ships together that will sail together and then make a global.
Was that hard, or was that obvious to you from the beginning? Like in terms of when you were speaking with Laurent the other, you were talking about your China business and how that got started. I think finding talented, motivated people, we talked about, it's hard, but it can be done. But then letting go. You talk about letting go, and actually, even if you believe it, but if you don't, it's impossible. But even if you believe in it, like saying, okay, go make that happen.
It's not the most difficult. Giving trust to people is easy. The problem is that one day you will have a problem, and then because of that you will stop giving trust.
Yeah.
There is when we started in Mexico, so we opened a country. We opened the country Mexico in 2010. So we had business there, and then I needed to recruit one guy to manage it. After 1 year, it was not okay, etc. And we fired the guy, and we just get back the email coming back to us. And that was email from the invitation to the restaurant General Assembly. During 1 year, they took our money and they created a restaurant. And what pissed me off is that at that time, the restaurant they created in Mexico had more Facebook followers than we did. And I've never been invited in the restaurant, by the way. And I have no shares in it. So I was really and at that time, we lost 196,000 euros.
Yeah.
So I remember the number because at that time, that was huge for us. Most of the time, if that happened once, you never give back your trust again.
Yeah.
And for one time it happened, there is 45 countries where we have made huge business by giving trust to people. So it's
what kind of companies? Who are your clients? What kind of companies do you work with? Size. You talked about geography, but more like size of companies, industries. Is it?
That would be any kind of industry, apart from the one where we are not ethically okay to work with.
Like Facebook.
Actually, I don't think we are working with Facebook. I will check it.
Age of surveillance capital.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But apart from that, it's mainly Fortune 500 top companies in the world.
What are the smallest companies you work with? Size.
That's a good question. Well, it can be small company if they are the one like growing fast and having needs there.
Scaling.
Yeah, scaling.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we work with company like maybe like Voyage Privé or stuff like that, like 500, 600 people.
Yeah.
But scaling.
Yeah.
But it's size is not the real point. The point is that for most of the service we do, the energy we are going to spend to work with one customer is going to be the same with the small one and the big one. So if you look at the volume of business in the time, the energy with small accounts is going to be lost energy because you do one business and that's it. So that's one of the problems most of the time. Unless it's a growing company, then you don't have a problem.
Yeah. Do you...
You're not my customers, are you?
No, but we maybe could be. We're too small, yeah.
I would be more.
Do you sell more, or or people buy from you?
Ooh. Well, I think that I told you that we made a big mistake because I thought that digital was social network. And we were very bad in programmatic and digital marketing. 4 years ago, I think that the incoming business on the website was maybe 4 per year.
Yeah.
So nothing.
Yeah.
We are in Europe, in our business, there is 1.8 million companies doing consulting.
Yeah.
So the biggest one has maybe 4% of the market share. So it's a very fragmented market, and you have to fight and find the customer. Nevertheless, I haven't seen any business where business is coming alone. You need to always, I do believe in sales, really, in finding the customers there.
But that's more boots on the ground, the coal face.
Be it digital, be it boots on the ground, as you say, be it cold call, be it whatever. I do believe that as a company, our job is to go, listen to the customer, and sell what he wants and what he needs.
And how often do you get called, you have to come help us close this deal?
By my teams?
Yeah.
Never.
Okay. You hear that? Never. Sorry. Last question, and then...
But there is often time where I told them, okay, I have a lead for you.
Yes.
Transform it.
Yeah.
But no. Okay, apart from acquisition of companies. That's my job.
Yeah. Actually, second last question, just quickly on that. Your growth, how much of that has been organic versus acquisition? And when did you start doing acquisitions?
We started acquisition 7 years ago. But it was really small one. So out of today, I think we bought 200 people, roughly speaking, spread in 10 companies.
Okay.
But it's something we are going to industrialize now.
Yeah.
Since 6 years, when I do stuff, it's always think big. So since 6 years, we are screening 50 companies per week to buy.
Okay.
And we are having 300 startups coming for investment per month.
When you say we're screening, is that IT, or is that people, or is it a combination of both?
One part is data scrapping and building a database.
So top of funnel is...
And one part is human. And one part is human where...
Top of funnel gives you 50 companies for the team to look at.
And that data is used for market intelligence, is used for the business, and for the acquisition to come.
So last question. Of your business,
they will be
exactly. How much is with financial services? I understand correctly that some of your first clients were in financial banking.
The first one we started was in an organization in the banking industry, so redefining the process, and it was in Geneva. Okay, there is a tape,
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, so just generalizations.
Just to know, because one of the big. I don't know where I'm doing my turnover.
Okay,
it's very surprising.
55 countries.
No, because I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm interested in growth.
Yeah.
But knowing where we do business, I'm not interested. I would say between 20 to 25% of my business in the finance, insurance business. Well, you guys are the reason why I have work, because you are destroying those companies, for most of them, because they need to change. And everything, they have a huge need for innovation and change. And they are starving, they are afraid. All the CEO of those companies, they are afraid of you guys here, destroying them. So it's great, keep doing that. Because for me, it's the way where I can help them to change and try doing that.
Broker some sort of lead generation.
We have a startup studio also where we can create startups for some customers, and it's pretty interesting.
So we've got, conscious everyone, it's been a long day for everyone, and you probably want to get a drink or some food in you. Maybe if there is 1 or 2 questions from the audience, we'd be happy to take those. Otherwise,
Just wondering, when you were starting out right at the beginning, who were your first kind of clients? What sort of companies were they doing? What were they? What were you doing for them? That kind of stuff.
Okay. So when we started, day one, we had a website with 10 offices in Europe officially. So one phone number everywhere going on my line. So that, yeah. So I think that our first customers and our first employees, they never understood they were the first one. So we were going to customers and we were listening to what they wanted.
But there really is 6,500 people
Yes.
now.
Well, and 60 robots.
Yes.
Because we are counting robots also in the head count.
Okay.
So we have 60 robots.
Got it.
Mainly working in recruitment and in the accounting part. So we were going to see the customers and asking them, what do you want? And then they would say something and we say, yes, of course, that's what we do. And then you try to make it happen. That's also one of the big issues is that most of the time when you start a business, you want to sell something you know you have instead of listening to the customers. The first one was in the banking industry and was for competing with companies like CSC Pitt Marwick on the organization of process of that bank. The second business was the implementation of SAP for a food and beverage company. And the third one was in, I think it was Loterie Romande, on designing an application for the intranet of the Loterie Romande. And then I think there is an insurance in Switzerland also. And then there has been Telefonica in Spain, where we were working on the implementation of the BTS, so the base station, for the mobile phone mapping there, so that you will have a coverage in the subway. So that has nothing to do.
And just to follow on to that, maybe they're all different, but you mentioned this 1.4 million consulting companies in Europe, the big, small, one person, Anderson. How did you win those early contracts? What do you think or maybe it was different for each one?
Okay, the first lead we got, during the night, we screened 600 CVs, and the morning after, we called 300 people to try to recruit them to have the right solution to make the business. That's where we won.
Okay.
It's just...
But did your customer know that?
No.
No, yeah. So this is the Wizard of Oz, right? It's all
Yes,
behind the
that's
curtain.
it.
Yeah.
It's just deliver a promise and then just make it happen. It's always that balance.
Any other questions?
Hey, as you scale, how do you think about churn and acceptable churn in that kind of 6,500 trajectory? And when does it become worrying or acceptable purely because of scale?
In which country are you located?
London.
London? Okay, so...
Is that a country now? I haven't been following Brexit this week. Yay!
Well, churn depends on the countries. If you take Vietnam, Mauritius, Tunisia, you won't have the same churn rate as China or Spain or London. So the first thing is there. Second thing is that in our industry, the average churn rate is 35% per year. That's the reality. It means that
Across the industry.
Yes, that's the reality.
Wow.
The official version is it's about 20%. It's not true. Nevertheless, it depends a lot on the different country. Churn is not an issue if that's people that you don't want to retain. My concern and my focus is the churn of my top 200. So I have a huge focus there on my top 200 because that's what I need to do. And their job is to do the same there. But just to give you an idea, we have every week, we have something called Express Yourself, where people can rate the company, they can rate what they do, they can rate their management, and give a mark so that we have a social indicator about the companies. It also depends on the jobs they are doing. When you're doing accounting now, well, we don't have so much, well, maybe we have some accounts, but not that much. You don't have jobs, so it's okay. There is not a lot of churn. If you are in data science, if you keep the people and treat them well, that's not a problem. If you are now in IT in Mauritius, you will have 70% of churn because in the Maslow pyramid, they haven't covered the basic need. So they will change every week for €50. And there is nothing you can do. You just have to integrate that and, okay, this is normal. This is normal.
Sure. Sammy.
So the question is, how do I measure the fact that I realize the purpose that I do have here? That's a very good question, actually. I think it's pretty easy. There is nothing that makes me more proud than when I see my CFO is 29 years old. He started in the company. My head of recruitment, she's 30 years old. She started intern in Barcelona, paid 200 euro per month 8 years ago. And when I work with them, I'm proud of what I've done. When I see the head of USA, she's 29, she's managing 300 people in USA. She just got a first child, and I've done my job. But there is not something where I can measure it, apart from being proud of the people that I do believe that I've partly changed their life. And I'm really happy for that. And I hope that they are fighting doing the same for the people that trust them. But it's a good point. I haven't think about a KPI there. My smile in the morning when I wake up is a good KPI.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks to you.
It's incredibly impressive what you built and done, and so much to learn, and thanks for sharing with us.
Thank you very much. And